Welcome to Friday with Friends. Friday with Friends is our opportunity to talk about what's going on in the market, answer any questions you may have, so that if you have any real estate needs, we would love the opportunity to be your realtor of choice.
Yes, we are so excited because today is one of our favorite episodes where we give you guys an update on what's going on in the market. So today we're kind of breaking it down into a few different groups. First, we're starting with a quarter one recap. Then we're going to get into quarter two. And then we're also going to give you a real life update on what is happening basically this minute in the market. I was just talking with a client today and they were like, well, how's the market? And I'm like, honestly, it is changing every single minute. We're seeing that the market is adjusting. Normally you see, the ebbs and flows of a normal market, but we're definitely in this interesting spot that we're going to get into, so you are up to date with what's going on in the market.
Yes, and when you're up to date, you are confident, you are informed, and you're making the best decisions for you and for your family. So let's just recap quarter one. So with quarter one, the pending sales were still down, but our closed sales were still up. And a lot of people were like, oh, that's exciting. Well, what it was the trickle in from quarter four of 2020.
Yep.
Because everything got pushed back. So our quarter four was like the most incredible quarter four
Yes.
we've ever had because of that. Because people were still saying, like, I didn't get my chance to buy this year. They weren't really going anywhere for Christmas or anything.
Right.
So like, let's buy some houses. And so that's where we saw that.
Yep, and when we're going through this quarter one update, we are comparing quarter one of 2020 to quarter one of 2021.
Correct?
Perfect.
Yep. And prices in this quarter quarter one were up 14%. Inventory was down 50%. So we were to this point where we're like trying to get some new listings in quarter one. And finally in March, we started to see that inventory pick up. So when we were talking to you guys at the end of quarter one while we were in quarter two, we're like, we're seeing some inventory pick up. That's where we're going. And that's what we get to share more with you today.
Yes, exactly. So the inventory was down year over year. And that's definitely what we saw throughout the first quarter is compared to 2020 where we were still living our normal lives in quarter one of 2020. True. And so things were kind of a typical real estate market. We weren't crazy at that point as we were this quarter one of 2021.
Yes. And that's what's interesting about these numbers that we're going to go into quarter two now. So I told you, quick recap. Was that quick recap? Quick recap. But when we talk about quarter two, you have to understand quarter two 2020, which is what we're comparing to, there was significant impact for the COVID-19 crisis. So when that was quarter two of 2020, that's when everything started shutting down. That's when people were like, do I list my house? We couldn't even get into houses.
Yep.
Now, we were still buying and selling houses because we got creative and we had clients that had to move, but a lot of people chose not to. And so when we are going to see some significant numbers, a lot of it has to do with the fact that quarter two of 2020 was COVID time.
Picture yourself in, April of 2020 versus April of this year. And then, kind of use that hat as you're looking at these numbers. So in Monroe County, we were up closed sales by over 27%. Again, quarter two versus quarter two, 2020 to 2021. In Ontario County, we were up over 20%.
Yep. And then in Wayne County, we were up over 16%. So overall, the closed sales year over year are still up. In 2020, the closed sales kind of got impacted, right?
Yep.
Like there were a few people who maybe lost their job or who got cold feet or something and they backed out of that sale. But most of the time, the pendings of quarter one close in quarter two. So our closed sales being up is really good and it's showing that our quarter one was really strong, but also it doesn't really make this huge impact when we're there wasn't a huge negative impact on 2020 quarter two yet when it came to closed sales because there wasn't that big pull that there was in the quarter three closings.
Got it.
Does that make sense? Okay, good.
Totally. So next we're going to get into new listings. So these are, really neat because in Monroe County, again, quarter two in 2020 versus quarter two in 2021, we were actually up over 100%. in new listings.
In Ontario County, up 75% in brand new listings. So from 309 to 546 new listings from quarter two to quarter two in 2021. And of course, were people even listing then, right? There was a lot of people that were hesitating listing. And remember, we were down like 80%. So the fact we're up 100%, that we'll take it.
We'll take it. And that's a really key, piece was in, that quarter two of 2020. We barely could get into homes. Showings were really restricted, things like that. Some people just said, I don't even want to put my house on the market. So that's where those new listings were at an all-time low. And we've been seeing them creep back up to maybe a little bit more of those normal levels from obviously 2020 and now to quarter two in 2021.
Yes. And then lastly, Wayne County was up almost 90% in the new listings that we were able to see.
Which is huge. And we saw a lot of changes when it came to people opening up their searches now in the last year, especially with COVID changing the way people work, go to school, all of those things. People could say, I don't need to live near a big city anymore. I can work remotely. I can school remotely. I can do all of these different things that people going maybe towards outskirt counties where they can have a little bit more space, a little bit more land. We definitely saw that was a huge increase for Wayne County this year.
Yes, that's such a great point. So then when it comes to the median sales price, so how are we doing with equity and how is your value of your house growing? And from 2019, so in 2019, the median sales price in all of Rochester was $150. In 2020, the median sales price was $155. In 2021, for quarter two, the median sales price was $185,600. That is up 20% is the median sales price that we're seeing.
And so if you own a home, and this is why we love talking about investing in real estate and buying homes, because just in the last few years, your equity and your investment in your assets have gone up 20%. And that's just such a great thing for our clients that are looking to either sell and potentially take advantage of that equity and pull that out to do other things, or just, continuing to keep a pulse on their assets.
Yes. So let's talk about absorption rate. Abby, I know this is like your thing.
Love absorption rate.
Talk to us about absorption rate. What are we seeing in terms of absorption rate or months supply of inventory?
Yeah, so basically said, absorption rate is, as Mandy said, how much inventory per month and how quickly the market will absorb that inventory, aka sell. So in 2019, the month supply of inventory was 2.6. Now, just for a reference point, the 3-month mark is really the deciding factor. If you are less than 3 months, you are in a seller's market. If you're greater than 3 months, historically, you're in a buyer's market. So in 2019, we were at 2.6 months, which is just crazy to think about now at this point.
Which means it was pretty balanced. So there's kind of same buyers, kind of same amount of sellers, and the negotiations are pretty balanced.
Yep, exactly. In 2020, that dropped to 1.9 months, so we're getting lower. And then in 2021, we are now at 1.9 months. So it's just continuing to drop.
Yes. And so that's for all of the greater Rochester region.
Yep.
And
in
now,
quarter two.
In quarter two. And when you think about when you think about the different pockets, that's why if you want to know about your particular market, let us know, because greater Rochester is completely different.
Yeah.
We have a hotbed in North Winton. We have a hotbed in Penfield specific neighborhoods. We have hotbeds all over the place. That just the general feel of the Rochester market, this gives us a good indication. But let's get into we pulled some specific towns for you because we know we have a lot of viewers in these particular areas and around there, so you might be able to get a feel for your neighborhood.
Definitely, and all of these are as of today. So these are all very current, and what we're going to kind of go through them and then discuss a little bit, because if you've been listening to our episodes and our market updates in the past, you know that these numbers have been lower and we might be starting to see them creep up a little bit. So in Canandaigua, between 150,000 and 250,000, on average, the month supply is about 0.55, so maybe 2.5 weeks. In Canandaigua, between 250 and 350, that jumps to 0.92. In Victor, again, 150 to 250, we're still right around that 0.55. And then in Victor, 250 to 350, we're at 0.78. So maybe a little bit closer to 3.5 weeks there. Want to take Fairport away?
Yes, in Fairport, 150 to 250 is 0.58 months of inventory. Fairport, 250 to 350 is 0.97 inventory. Brighton, this is a unique one. 150 to 250 is over 1 month supply of inventory. Brighton 250 to 350 is 0.99, almost 1 full month of inventory. Now you may see, because we wanted to share kind of the historic of where we're like 2.6, 1.9, 1.1 months. Like that's historically what we've been seeing, but in a lot of these hot towns, the absorption rate was, what was it, like 0.1, 0.2?
Yeah, it was days, not weeks.
Essentially, the only time that a house was on the market or how long it took to absorb, aka sell, was the delayed negotiations period.
So maybe 5 days.
So it was like 5 days. And as we start to see these 0.55s, the lowest on here is 0.55 right now. If we start to see the 0.55 in the 1 month, it's not like, oh my gosh, it's no longer a seller's market.
Yeah.
We're still in a seller's market. It's just we're starting to see that the inventory is really starting to grow in these areas.
Definitely. And when we were doing calculations before, we'd look Canandaigua 150 to 250 and there would be nothing. So that would make the absorption rate 0 because there's nothing on the market as a seller to compete with. Now we're starting to see maybe 5, 6, 7 at any given point throughout all of these towns that, yes, you're still talking 2 weeks, but it's really important as a seller to be educated on these numbers so you have the expectation of, okay, this is how long on average it will take my home to sell.
So what conversations are you having with your sellers right now, Abby?
Basically just keeping them up to date as much as possible on these numbers and being very specific on their towns, their price ranges and things like that. So they have realistic expectations of what the market is recommending. You have news outlets and friends and family and, you know, even realtors that might not see this up-to-date information saying like houses are flying off the shelves. And in many cases, they still are. It's still a really strong market overall, but it is important to have these realistic expectations when it comes to planning how long you expect your home to be on the market.
And so we started with quarter one, we went into quarter two. If you were to ask us what the absorption rate in quarter two was, we were still super low.
Yeah.
We are now at the end of July in quarter three right now, and we are starting to see that if you're talking about numbers that were in quarter two, that they're not the same numbers anymore. And again, it's not like your house isn't going to sell.
Yes.
It's that when you are hearing, oh my gosh, all of these houses are just flying off the market, could your house still fly off the market in particular neighborhoods? Of course. But might it be on the market for a few
14
days?
days
Like,
maybe. And
it's different, and sometimes it's hard to wrap our head around.
Definitely.
So what are some of the general kind of insights? Let's talk about, Abby. I know you're so much into the market. What are some of the general insights that you are feeling right now today, somewhat into quarter three? What are you feeling?
it is so important to just have a constant stream of data coming in.
Yeah.
Even in like our team group chat, we're constantly talking about, okay, this just happened to me, this just happened to me. So we have a reference point on what the market is doing. It is, as I said, changing every single day. And so to have a reference point of, okay, I just did this and it was in Fairport in this price range.
Yeah.
We have an idea of what's going on out there so we can then educate our clients. But if you don't have that, again, you might be working off quarter two data, which in a normal world is fine. But in this ever-changing market where it's changing every second, that's not going to be accurate anymore.
We just had, what she's referring to in this group chat was we just had one of our agents say, I just got a house for list price in Fairport with an inspection.
And we were like, what?
Everyone was like, yeah. but really, and I gotta tell you too, so many times people are like, the market's shifting.
This big word, shift.
This big word, shift, and heck yeah, it's shifting, but it's going from crazy multiple offers. We couldn't keep up at that pace, that we're shifting back to still a seller's market, but a little bit more of where it should be and not as quote unquote crazy. Yeah. So that was really interesting that people are starting to see that there are houses that are going past delayed negotiations, and that's where buyers are able to say, hey, we'll give you list price and have an inspection, and that was not acceptable quarter two.
Yep, exactly. So it's definitely changing. We are still seeing in many cases multiple interested buyers on each property. Instead of having 100 showings, we're having 30, things like that. It's not as dramatic across the board. And as you said, we are seeing some properties on the market going past that delayed negotiations point. And again, that might be a 5-day window when your absorption rate is 2 weeks. So it's all just about knowing that information so you as a seller and as a buyer are educated.
And when you try to win the offer too, it's that agent communicating with the other agent to say, hey, talk to me about it. What's important for your buyers? You still want to show up in the best light as a buyer, and you still want to show up in the best light as a seller.
Yes.
But that crazy that we've been talking about, we're starting to see it shift. And again, you might not hear this from other people for 6 months from now, until people start to see it, but we're telling you in real time. It's showing up for us, and when we have as many transactions and clients that we're working with right now, we can see it, and it's becoming pretty obvious.
Yep, and I do think that there's, we always see kind of those seasonal adjustments. We did see that happen. What was it when we did the inventory Friday with friends a few weeks ago, that when things started to open back up fully a little bit more, we saw kind of a little dip in the market, and that could just be, again, these indications that we're seeing that at this time it might just be one piece of information, but as we add it all together, that's when you can really start to see the trends.
We're like, is everyone just been on vacation for
Maybe.
summer? Like, did they just go on a completely long, and then it's like, oh, it's just seasonal. It's summer.
It's summer. I know.
It's summer, like I get if it's seasonal as we're getting into the winter or something like that, but for us, we do not think it's a seasonal thing.
Correct.
We think it's something that we're seeing that's more. And
those
honestly,
are
it's
those
a
trends.
great, it is a great thing. Your house has already gone up in so much, and you have gained so much equity. You are still in a strong spot, just maybe getting a few offers instead of 20 to 30 offers before.
Yes, and hey buyers, maybe some relief is coming.
Yes, take a breath.
Yes.
All right, well, that's what we have for you today. We love chatting about the market updates. We think it is so important for you to stay educated, and we love doing it. These are number conversations that we are having that are typically behind closed doors, and we say, hey, this is what you guys should know about. So if you have any questions about your particular neighborhood, your particular home, we always love to offer a complimentary value consultation so that you can learn more about what your home is worth, and if you are interested in selling, how we can help you in that way too.
Perfect.
All right, well, thank you for tuning in to Friday with Friends. Again, Friday with Friends is our opportunity to talk about what's going on in the market, answer any questions you might have, so that if you have any real estate needs, we'd love the opportunity to be your realtor of choice.
Yes.
You can find us at friendonyourside.com or on all our social media platforms. We look forward to hearing from you.
Bye.
Bye.